end of the Essex Writers' House, and every day in the cafe space at 1 o'clock we have a 1 o'clock read. I'd just like to introduce today's reader. So it's going to be Tanya, who will be reading a section from Smudge and Friends, which is a children's story based on an idea by Caroline Groves, and it's written and illustrated by Andy Edwards. And I'll let Tanya tell you a bit more about the book.
Thank you. Thanks everybody. I'm going to sit, I think. Yes, why not? So thank you ever so much for the wonderful introduction. I'd like to thank first of all the excellent Meta team for this brilliant writers and book event put on by them. My name is Tanya Bonici, and the people with me today are Alan and Roy, who are all closely involved in Smudge and Friends. Obviously the books are here, you can have them. Do my jazz hands there. At this point I'd like to introduce you also to Caroline Groves, as without obviously her input, Smudge and Friends wouldn't be introduced to you today. Sadly Caroline can't be with us today. She lost a long and valiant battle to cancer. However, she and Alan did write and lay down the first stories of Smudge and Friends. So, who was Caroline who first thought up this idea for Smudge and Friends? Was she Caroline Groves, and this is where I'm going to stumble, NNEB, or DHP, MAPHP, the children's behaviour specialist, or just Lily, the fun-loving woman whom at the age of 19 was diagnosed with astroblastoma and had a life expectancy of just 6 months. Both played their part, and as Alan says, it's really hard to see the former when you loved and knew the latter. So Caroline was to the manor born, an Essex girl, on 12th of March 1975. She had wanted to have children herself, but dedicated her future to all children's health and well-being. She qualified as both a children's hypnotherapist and psychotherapist, with clinics in London and Essex. Her illness made it a long and painful struggle for her, as a debilitating illness began to cloud over her last few years. But it was from this very race with time that she thought of Smudge and Friends, a book that would be able to take forward her thoughts in helping young children in the future. So Caroline and Alan worked together to shape and form the characters when writing the early stories of Smudge, even though she was really very ill at this stage. Unfortunately, Caroline lost her long battle with her brain tumour on the 8th of June 2013. But the idea that Caroline wanted to carry on was one that children would be helped through reading her books. So Caroline's wish was for children to learn and find the strength within themselves to overcome their fears and doubts by reading these stories. This is not self-education. Families, of course, are most important in growing up too. And if children can see their own way forward, make their own choices in their daily activities and decide what they can or maybe cannot do, they can regularly face big issues for the first time in their lives. Children are resilient, of course, and they're brave with endless energy, and they're also inquisitive, some cautious, and some headstrong. They're often confused and when confronted with doubts or fears, as are we. But it was Caroline's view that ideas drawn from stories like Smudge could allow children to be familiar with problems through the characters and their adventures in the story. So should the time come, and they're in a similar situation, they can relate to the story that they know. Not wishing to oversimplify the degrees in which children may need that help, sometimes it can be offered through playing and understanding from stories. After all, we've been learning from stories geared to educate us for centuries. So Caroline developed Smudge, Bruni and Billy as the three main figures to be the most likely characters you would meet in a school. They're over-exaggerated, of course, but identifiable all the same. Through seeing how the characters deal with many daily issues at home and school, they can do the same. So this book, through whom Caroline believed could help children to understand not only about life's daily bumps and bruises, but also their deeper worries. If they could find the confidence through what they have learned, playing, mixing with peers, and reading about far-fetched calamities, identifying with them all, it would help to allay their worries and fears and let them enjoy their day-to-day lives. So, let's now read some extracts that show the link by using the three main characters. For today is Smudge's first day at school. Smudge's mum asked him, "What was wrong?" I'm sure you'll understand, as his mum did, Smudge was a little bit scared. His mum told him everything would be all right. This helped a bit. Not a lot, but a bit. So every child has faced this life-changing challenge, or perhaps still will, the dreaded first day at school. She told him. He was just nervous and there was no need to be scared. She told him that it was just butterflies in his tummy. This is what we all do, isn't it? Find something else to move our thoughts from an obvious fear to an imaginary one, so much more comfortable. Smudge is no exception, even bringing more imagery into his thoughts to block the real fear. He holds on to the butterflies, but he moves forward with the reality, hat and coat, and the nervous walk of doom. One last escapism thought, then the introduction to the wonderful Mrs. Kindly, in name and in deed, Lucky Smudge. He shakes hands with her, very grown up, and he really knows he's safe. Would that all children on their first day at school could feel this way. And this was Caroline's view, to see how fear is there, but how one can go through the doors into a new world. Every child knows that dreaded moment of being on their own, abandoned almost. But here, as in most schools, he is quickly befriended by like-minded peers, those who would be his first two soulmates come over to say hello. The team's first get-together, the first bonding of Smudge, Bruni and Billy. I'm Billy, pleased to meet you. This is Bruni. He's pleased to meet you too, but I'm Billy. It was suggested that the three motorheads, May, Hammond and Clarkson, could be the adult versions of Smudge, Bruni and Billy, but surely not. So it was everything was going really well, but there was that one last problem, those butterflies. Seeing Smudge's concerned look, Bruni came over to see if he could help. Smudge felt that Bruni could be trusted after all. Two dogs would be much better than one and against an impending butterfly attack. Billy, having just given the school caretaker a headache, heard only one part of the conversation, butterfly, attack. So immediately declared all butterflies the enemy of the kingdom of dogdom. Before you ask, I have no idea where the kingdom of dogdom is. The only one who knows about the kingdom of dogdom is Billy. So there we go, we've taken a nervous brand new pupil to school, given him a comforting, lovable teacher, firm friends, and here he is, striving for himself, albeit in dogdom. But this is a good way to deal with fear and anxiety, change the dreaded object for something different, or either familiar or fictional. Caroline knew that children's resilience gives them courage, and they can deal with these issues by themselves, given the right structures to fall upon. The school bell rang to call everyone to class. Bruni picked out 3 desks for him and his 2 friends, and he sat down. The day passed as days do until the home bell rang. Mrs. Kindly dismissed her class and wished them a safe journey home. Upon reaching the house, Smudge looked up at his mum and asked, "Can I go back to school tomorrow, please?" So why do children and parents identify with story characters? Well, we all do to some degree. Caroline wanted children to learn from all these characters in Smudge and to prepare themselves for certain aspects of school, play and living with siblings and peers. Not an easy task for them or for parents because life can be hard, but we can help prepare them for it. All the stories are there to lead to enjoying the book, but also to learn and above all, to think for ourselves. Alan's brother, Andy, a gifted writer and illustrator, took on the writing of Smudge and Friends after Caroline died. And he is continuing to write more great stories. So a huge thank you must also go to Andy at this point. Well, that's it from me. Thank you all for coming and for listening. Please feel free to have a look at one of our books or take one of our bookmarks. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.